This material is made available to you by or on behalf of the University of Melbourne under Section 113P of the Copyright Act 1968. It may be subject to copyright. For more information, visit the University Copyright website.
I'll do that. Where are we using the PowerPoint? From there or here?
Here. So you have to put the USB here.
It's not working now. Okay. Always got to have a backup. You're right. We okay now? Kayleen, we all right? Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. My name's Phil Musat. We're going to spend semester together. And over here, this lady you're going to see on a regular basis is Kayleen. Kayleen, turn around, show everybody your face. That's it. Can everybody overseas see you as well?
I think what they're seeing is your back. Now they're seeing your front.
There you go. You're being looked at. Kayleen is hopefully going to make this work. This is uncharted territory for all of us. Standing in the corner is Hal, the coordinator. He's somewhere and he's come to check on us to see that we can do this right. We'll do our best. For those of you who are on Zoom, may I suggest if you are in Australia, in Melbourne, I think I have. Yeah. It's on. See? We'll do that. Is that better? Kayleen? Can I speak? Can you hear me now? Anyway, I'm going to keep going. Yeah, good. Okay. For those of you who do have the ability to come to these sessions, can I encourage you to do it? You'll get a lot more out of it if you do attend. Now, what this is supposed to be is interactive. This is science fiction stuff where the people that aren't in the room can actually converse with those of you who are in the room. And that's what these microphones are for. So if you want to say anything or ask a question, can I suggest those of you in the room pick up a microphone and speak into it? Hopefully they're turned on. That one is. And ask your question. Can I ask, why are you doing this subject? Easy question. It's not a trick question. Just so I know and how knows, those of you in the room in particular, what do you want to get out of it? Someone. Or did you hear that so far everybody's passed the subject for all the years we've been doing it, and you thought it might be an easy one just to get a pass at the end of the semester? What do you want to get out of it?
For me, I want to know how to successful use
Sorry, try to use,
Yeah.
sorry.
turn it, yeah, switch on.
Hello. Okay, for me, I choose this subject because I want to learn some knowledge and experience from you and how to successful in the real estate agent job.
So you want to know how to buy real estate. Is that right?
You also
mm,
sell as well.
Sell.
Yeah, actually, I was a property sales 4 years ago
Who with?
with Austin Group, sale of the plan apartment and land house package. But I'm be full-time mother 2 years, stay home. So my new job is property manager, but I still very interested for agency and want to continue do sales in the future.
Okay, so you were in real estate.
Yeah,
You have your agent's representative certificate.
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And you were selling off the plan.
It's 4 years ago. Now the market changed.
It has
so-
changed.
Yeah, so I really, how to say, if I want to catch up the job, I still like need new start a lot of things.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll give you some clues as we go through this course.
Okay.
Some of the subjects will help you.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll get a bit real estatey. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and I'll explain who I am and what I do as
Okay.
well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
I've got a friend that sells off the plan. He's the king. Okay. And if
Thank
he's
you.
not selling them, nobody's selling them. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. What about you?
Because like I feel like in Victoria, there's like the housing market is quite big, and then I see many real estate agent like you can see from CBD, and I just graduated like from my undergraduate
Yeah.
degree. So I was like, yeah, maybe it's time for me to learn more knowledge to like expand my career path in the future.
Okay.
Yeah, because like I'm still not sure what I'm gonna to do. Like, yeah.
So you're going to spend how many years at university?
For me, like master degree just for 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
You've done your undergraduate.
Yeah.
How many years was that?
3 years.
3. So you're going to spend 5 years at university
Yeah.
and then become a real estate agent.
No.
No,
like,
okay. All right.
maybe, yeah.
Okay. That's good. What about you? Hang on. Let's turn that on. Let's make sure it's on. Try that one.
For me, I think the reason is quite simple because I also spent like 5 years in the university and I haven't started my career yet. So I think this subject will give me a basic understanding about how the agency looks like.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. How the agencies work. Guys
Hello.
that were not working.
Hello.
That's it.
Yeah. So basically, like I find that till now, to my master's degree, I haven't really touched on like in detail like what real estate agency is, and also as a matter of everyone's life, you have to sell or buy a property at one point. So it's good to understand the whole concept of it and to understand how everything goes on. So yeah.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
And I'm interested for 2 reasons. One, working in development about dealing with real estate agents, giving them properties to sell.
Yeah.
Any tips with that? And also like buying personally as well, because I don't know if there's any other real estate agents, but like no offense, like can tend to be pretty slippery. the last auction I went to, it was advertised to sell at auction between 390 and 420,000, and it passed in having not met reserve of 440 something thousand.
Yep.
Like just, and like with no shame of them. And it's like, well, hang on a sec. Like what's going on here?
With no shame.
Yeah.
Okay. 390 to 420, it passed in at 440. Who makes the decision about the price?
Well, obviously the owner,
Yep.
but like that's in terms of the real estate agent would advise them, what do you think you can get for it? What should we advertise it for? What's your reserve going to be?
Yep.
And I would presume that they would then base that info on that.
Yep. Here's the issue. You have a real estate agent that says 390 to 420 based on comparable sales, and you've got a vendor that says, I want. If somebody, and you said it was passed in at what?
440 something. I think it's
440, yeah.
Selling by negotiations for like 445. I think.
Yeah, okay. Now, that's one of two things. One is it's either a deliberate underquote. There are pretty heavy fines for that. Although reading an article over the last week, part of the inquiry into the real estate market that is just starting in the last 6 months or 12 months, Consumer Affairs has issued fines of around $300,000 to real estate agents. What you've got to do is work out how many properties have been marketed and sold in that period, thousands, and that the fines are upwards up to, I think it's $30,000 per offence. So let's say they find them the most, 30,000, 300,000, 10. 10 counts of deliberately underquoting. It's not many. Not many when you think that there's probably, I'd say 1,000 transactions a week at least. Okay. And it gets back to what, is it Godfrey, when I was talking about a bit earlier. This is what happens. There's a dividing line in this table. And he said he'd been to an auction where the property was sold at 2.7, and it was on the market or quoted at 1.6. No one will bat an eyelid and say it was underquoted because it's commercial. And people that deal in the commercial sector, as far as the government's concerned, are intelligent, smart, and know what they're doing. Those same people buy residential real estate, they're morons, they're idiots, and they don't know anything. They're uneducated. Go figure the logic. Okay, go figure the logic. Sure, there are people that need to be protected, but should then they be making a financial decision on their own in what people often say is the most expensive purchase they'll make in their lifetime, instead of having somebody representing their needs. My wife and I came in from regional Victoria this morning. We went to one of our favourite places for breakfast and happened to send a message to a good friend who then joined us, whose son is looking at buying his first property. Now, his son's a lawyer. His son also won, he's very smart. He also won 4 Premier's Awards in his VCE year. 4. The guy's a genius. Okay, the guy's a genius. But he made a comment to his dad last night, apparently, that if it goes for too much, it's been underquoted. And he went on and on and on and on. And the real estate agent's this and the real estate agent's that if it sells for too much. And I said to this friend of mine, you tell him or I'll tell him, on the day of the auction, his best friend will be the real estate agent and the auctioneer who wants him to buy it or somebody to buy it. If there's an enemy in the crowd, or in that process, it's the person who wants to buy it other than him. And at the end of the day, he or she with the deepest pockets wins, and the one that's prepared to spend the most. Now, I work it on this basis, and if I can write it on this, I don't know whether we can see this. those of you offline, for every $10,000 at 2%, that is $200 per year, less than $1 per day. Okay. Now, if it's 4%, let's make that 400. So it's less than $1.50 in repayments per day to buy an asset. Had to buy an asset. We picked up a new car on the 1st of February. The moment I drove it out of the showroom, it devalued. We're looking at changing our other car. The minute we drive it out of the showroom, we will devalue. We will pay for these cars what your parents and grandparents were paying for real estate 30 years ago. Go figure it. The house that we could have bought for that sort of money is still standing and appreciating. The cars probably are in some car yard having died and been trashed, being carved up for parts. Maybe. So I said to this friend of mine, you tell him, or I will, if he can't afford another couple of dollars a day to buy an asset, if he really wants the property, he should not be in the marketplace. Okay, it's that simple. That's simple. What I'm going to suggest to you if during the course is that if you have any query or question about real estate, particularly residential, speak to me. Okay, if there is something in terms of, I'm not sure, I will find out for you and let you know. Now, those of you online, I can only see one person. Can we bring up a full screen, Kayleen, of all the participants online? Can you bring up a full screen, please? Yeah, one person I can see. Shuang Zheng, top of the class, for I see. Thank you for joining us. Okay, thank you for joining us. Don't be embarrassed.
So embarrassed, just at the top corner.
Sorry?
I'm so embarrassed just at the top corner.
No, it's okay. Top of the class. The rest of you who don't have your cameras on, unless you are concerned that somebody outside your front door is going to break down the door and do something to you, can I ask you to put your cameras on, please? Okay. Now, I can see a certain number of people because if you put your cameras on, you will actually feel a part of the class as opposed to being mysterious people that we don't know who you are and what you look like. Oh, thank you, Helen. Pardon my back. Appreciate it. And we can tell those people that are really here because if we take a break or I say, thank you very much, goodbye, I'll see you all next week. Those of you who have walked away from your computers and haven't listened and participated, you'll still be on Zoom. We'll have gone home already. Okay? And if there's anything you put in the chat, I'm going to rely on Kayleen to say, Phil, there's, oh, good. Bufangu. Huh? Thank you. Whose friend? Your friend. Is he in Melbourne?
Yeah.
He's in Melbourne. Bufangu, you get into this classroom, okay? Yep. Oh, face that way. Yeah, you're right. So you get into the classroom. Top of the class as well. Look at that. You've all taken the top line. Is there anybody? Thank you. Ming, nice you could join us. Okay. You'll get a lot out of it by joining us. Okay. Now remember, right at this moment, I have all the knowledge. I want to impart that into you, give you as much knowledge as I can. All right. What I'm going to do today, we'll go through a PowerPoint. You should all have access to it on Canvas. I will have that on Canvas. We've got somebody else join us. Xishuang, or do we call it Zhang? Thank you for joining us. I will have that on Canvas a day or two, every week, a day or two beforehand. And the same with any readings as well. Feng Chen is getting better. Would anybody that's on Zoom like to share with us why you've decided to do this subject? Anyone?
I guess I was just interested in understanding the background of market transactions and using that knowledge to sort of improve how I look at things.
Yeah. Helen, what this will do, it'll give you a background into how the real estate industry operates, what the laws are, et cetera, and I will impart my knowledge so that you have an understanding. By way of background, this is me, okay? I'm a lawyer by profession. I studied law. After about 6 months of being a lawyer, I opened my own agency, my own legal firm with a friend of mine. After 6 months, I realised I'd made a gross mistake and that I really didn't want to do what I'd studied 5 years to learn. So another 9.5 years, so a total of 10 years, it took me to extricate myself from the legal profession. Now, it's a very honourable profession. It just wasn't for me. So I became a real estate agent and loved it. Actually loved going to work every day of my working life, and I still do. Probably about, gosh, what would it be? It'd have to be about 16 or so years ago. I can tell you, early 2000s. I'd opened a real estate agency with a friend of mine, who, by the way, is one of the senior people at the Barry Plant organisation. He gets a percentage of every dollar that every Barry Plant salesperson makes. Isn't it bad, huh? He's pretty good. He's doing very nicely. Mark and I still speak to each other on a very regular basis. But we opened an agency in Sydney Road, Brunswick, and I'll talk about that during the process or during the semester. And then we sold it. We built an agency, we built a business, and we sold it, and he went his way and I went mine. And I fell into training and I fell into lecturing purely by accident. And I'll say that, and I love that as well, imparting my knowledge. These days, I spend my time, now, God bless the University of Melbourne, lecturing at Melbourne University, first semester this one, second semester, the fundamentals of the environmental built law, which is a core subject and more difficult than this one in terms of its concepts. Until late last year, I was also in the RTO sector, which is another form of education, and in real estate. I was the lead trainer at the Real Estate Institute of Victoria for a number of years. I consult to a group of real estate agents or to a franchise group in the western suburbs by the name of Sweeney Estate Agents. There's about 14 offices, and I consult to that group. I'm also doing some work now with the Barry Plant office in Ballarat and Bendigo. I'm a fee auctioneer, so each weekend, and I'm rebuilding that business now. I've moved to regional Victoria, but when I was living in Melbourne, every weekend I was out doing auctions for different agencies. So I've still got my finger in the pie, and I love it. Okay, I love it. I also help people buy and sell real estate for a fee. Okay, now, interesting, those of you who are doing a master's in property, if you want to become real estate agents, you need to do another course. This won't give it to you. How many subjects did you do?
No, 18.
18. When did you do that?
The policy changed after, I think, October, I think the policy changed after October 2021. It's from 3 units to 18 units.
Yeah, okay. So you've done the new course.
Yeah.
And you said you'd worked in real estate 4 years ago.
But back to that time, I work in China, Shenzhen. We don't need a real estate.
Oh, you're in China doing it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm employed by an Australian company, but we based in China.
Okay, all right. I'd love to see the material that you've used to get your 18 subjects. Okay, if you've got them, I'd love to see them. Until October last year, you needed 3 simple subjects to become an agent's representative. Okay, and another 21 after that to become a licensed estate agent. And again, we'll talk about that. There's a subject, I think, next week on licensing. But I'm here to help you. I'm here to impart as much knowledge as I can so that you have an understanding of how the real estate industry operates. Okay, so if you were going to get into real estate, if you're going to run your own business, how real estate agents should think. Many of them don't. It's a different world today where, and I'm looking at everybody, you've either got a tablet or a computer in front of you. Technology is wonderful. Technology is something that's allowing me to be here, a number of you to be in the room, and a whole lot more of you to be coming to us through the age of technology, of cyberspace or whatever. It is brilliant. Okay, it is brilliant. If you have any questions as we go through all of this, ask the question. All right? Ask it. Don't sit back and think, no, maybe that's silly. Be brave. Ask the question, because if you're thinking, if you don't know something, somebody else is thinking exactly the same. So be brave enough to ask the question. Kayleen, can I now have the PowerPoint back, please? Going to share this with you, and I'm going to work through it, okay? I'm going to work through this and we'll talk about it. Again, as we do it, if you don't know something, ask me to stop and ask the question, all right? And I'll give you my take on real estate. Look at me, I am old. I have plenty of knowledge. I work with real estate agents now, predominantly younger people that have learned certain ways, and real estate is a people business. It's a service industry. And if you don't physically and face-to-face talk to your potential clients or your existing clients, you won't have any potential clients or existing clients, okay? But technology is wonderful because it helps. Okay, that's me. That's my email address. That's my home email address. It is the best email address to get me on. I look at that every day. I'm embarrassed to admit I don't look at my UniMelb email address all that often. So if you want anything, if you want a response, you want to contact me, email me. If you desperately need to speak to me, email me and let me have your mobile phone number and I will call you. Okay, I will call you. One thing I will ask though is be cognizant of the time if you desperately want to talk to me, because I do have a family life, which I cherish. Okay, there's certain times where I go, no, I won't take a phone call. Okay, that's the good Dr. Hao Wu. There's his details. If you can't, you know, if you're angry with me and you want to vent, email Hao. Okay, he'll get in touch with me and he'll scold me if it's necessary, or he'll praise me, which doesn't happen very often. Okay, but that's all right. All right, so you do that. But you can contact either of us. If you're having trouble or issues at all in terms of the learning or lack of understanding, again, email me. The fact that I'm here every week is an opportunity, particularly for those of you who attend, to talk to me after the lecture and after the tutorial that we will have. Possibly not today, because there's really nothing to have a tutorial about after the first lecture. Now, I don't know if others do that or not, say, well, you know, it's nothing, but we'll sort of work tutorials based on what we did the week before. Okay. You'll have access to the PowerPoint, as I said, on the LMS, on the Canvas, every week. If there's anything I want you to read, it will go up on the LMS at the same time as I put the PowerPoint up. Now, this is also being recorded. So if you miss something, you can watch it on Lecture Capture as well. Yeah. So it makes it a lot easier. The university still has to work out in terms of examinations, though, how to change things so they're not really open book exams because of what's happened over the last 2 years and people doing exams off-site. So what we're going to do, though, is look at an introductory issues to the legal system in which real estate operates, and in particular, the system in which real estate agents operate. Now, there's a lot of misconception out there in the public arena as to the role of a real estate agent. And when I'm teaching people how to be real estate agents, one of the very simple questions that I ask them is, particularly in buying and selling, who's your client, the buyer or the seller, or both? And I am shocked beyond belief when people say either the buyer or both. Let me give you my view of who I act for as a real estate agent, as a selling agent. Now, if I'm a buyer's agent, I act for the buyer. That role is to buy the property, okay? Buy the property and not be focused on, I've got to get it really, really cheaply, but to buy and help somebody buy a good asset. As a selling agent, I make no bones about it. I don't resolve from it. I act fairly and squarely for the seller, the vendor. And my view is it's my job as a selling agent to pick a buyer up by the ankles and shake them till I can get every cent out of their pocket. That's simple. And I'm not embarrassed to say that. That's my job. I represent the seller. If you go to court and you employ a lawyer, you want the lawyer to act in your best interest, not the other side's best interest. Okay, so they act for their client, the one that pays them. As a selling agent, the person that pays the selling agent is the seller, and it's your job as an agent, or it's the job of a real estate agent, to act on their behalf. So when you're buying real estate, if you don't know, don't rely on what the selling agent tells you, because they're acting in the best interest of the seller. Do your own research or get some advice from somebody who really knows what they're talking about and who will act in your best interest. We'll look at the requirements of the various issues that arise on a daily basis within the industry and the framework in which an estate agency should operate in order to be successful. Okay, in order to be successful. I'm working with one agency at the moment, and at this stage, I still can't get it through the people that own the business what their problem is. Their problem is staffing and their lack of knowledge within the industry and how they should be operating their business. Okay, how they should be operating their business in order for it to be successful. When they told me how much money they've lost over the last 2 years, I just shook my head and thought, you've either got a lot of money to burn or you are happy to be on a road of absolute financial ruin, but they still don't get it. So we'll go through that as part of the course as to how to operate a business. Now, it applies to just about any business, what we're going to go through. But with real estate, like some other industries, there's a lot of legislative framework that has to be complied with. It's not working. Can you move that on one? Thank you. All right. We'll look at it from a real estate agency's perspective. And the subject aims to give an understanding of the process and issues that real estate agents come up against, and also in regards to the transfer of property within the current legal and market context. It's been really difficult over the last few years because the industry has had to learn how to do things without either inspecting a property for sale or rent, and getting it either sold or rented. And it's been a real learning curve. The guys have been to auctions recently. Did they do them online or did they do a hybrid format where people were actually, they could take bids from somebody who was not there? No.
I attended some ones that were online. No, but I attended some that were online at the start, like right at the start as well.
Yeah.
Doing another law subject, and yeah, it was interesting to see. They were probably like the first few weeks of doing online auctions.
Yeah, it's interesting. I sat with an auctioneer some weeks back, early in the year. I sat with Jeremy, who's done a lot, and said, step me through it, because unless the industry is going to embrace this hybrid method of auctioning properties, they're going to be left behind. It's reality. It's the 21st century, and COVID has shown us that we can do business a different way. When we, or the university had decided to do this sort of teaching format, we had a meeting. In fact, I think it was in this room. Yeah, it was in this room. And I made the comment to the people in the room, if you want to see how this system works, go and watch residential real estate auctions, because the industry has embraced the on-site online process, which is what the university now is trying to do. And as lecturers, and we did it last week, Hal? We did a session, a workshop, and I made that comment as well to the other lecturers, that if they want to see how it works and how it can work, then what they need to do is go and watch real estate agents and how they're doing these hybrid auctions. Okay, now I have to look, and as Hal said to me before, Phil, turn around, they're not up there. Okay, they're here. So it had to remind me. And I'm doing them now. I'm doing auctions where I have to look into a smartphone, going, hello, is there anybody there? You know, and if there were people that were bidding, then salespeople need to be on the phone to them as well and coming back to me with it all. So we'll look at the processes. We'll look at how all of it has taken place, or what's taken place, and what the industry needs to do these days. We're going to provide an understanding of the role of the industry, or the real estate agent in the industry, and in the context of the market, procedures involved in undertaking a sale by private treaty, and the different forms of private treaty. Often you'll see sale by set date, sale by this, sale by negotiation, sale by tender. They're all private sales, and of course the auction process. Now, if you want the most transparent form of buying and selling property, buy and sell at an auction, because you can actually see what's going on right in front of your eyes. And what will happen if you are selling property or buying property by way of private treaty, you are at the mercy of the real estate agent, who will tell you something, and hopefully they're telling you the truth and exactly what the situation is, or they're making up a story, okay, a story to get you to make an offer or pay a certain amount of money. A certain amount of money. And by being in the industry and being in sales now for over 35 years, I didn't say that, for a long time, you learn. You learn. I made the comment before, we're looking at selling our other car. We sat some weeks ago with the salesperson who I don't test drive them. My wife drives them. She says it's good enough. It's good enough. If it's not, we'll walk out. What can you do for us? Oh, well, the price is X. Okay, that's good. Yeah. Have you got a car to trade? Yep. So what this salesperson is doing is going down the learned form of trying to negotiate a sale. Same with a real estate agent. So they have a look at it and they came back and he said, we can give you $35,000 for your car. My comment was, you don't want to do business, do you? I don't mind you making profit, but no. It's 4.5 years old. It's got less than 65,000 kilometres on it. It was a $90,000 motor vehicle, and you're going to give me $35,000. Doesn't cut the mustard. It's not going to work. Okay, so I'd want at least X dollars for it. I'd have to ask my manager. I said, no, you don't. That's your line. You know exactly what you can do. Now, at that point, we stood up and said, give us a call in the next week. Let us know. He didn't ring. So I rang him. Now, if I was him, I'd be thinking, they really want to buy this car because they're chasing me. He's let it go ever since then. He won't make a sale. We'll buy the car, but from someone else. Okay. It's that simple. Real estate salespeople say the same things. So here's the logic as a salesperson. We'll give you X dollars trade in. You don't want to do business. We'll guarantee it for 30 days. When will the car be in Australia? October. So how does that work? You're guaranteeing me a price for 30 days, but it's going to be another 9 months before the car arrives. What price are you going to give me then? I don't know. Well, how do we do business? Now, he knows. He knows. Real estate salespeople are the same, whether they're property manager salespeople. Okay, they're the same. They'll go through certain ways of asking you questions. We'll talk about it, okay, as we go through this, because we're going to look at private sales as a separate topic. We're going to look at auctions as a separate topic. You're all going to be required to do the second assignment following an auction campaign, okay, and I'll explain that shortly, what you need to do. Now, for those of you who are not in Australia, you're still going to have to do it, but you're going to pretend that you are buying from overseas. So you're still going to have to do the same amount of research and come up with a response for me. We're going to look at the legal, financial, economic and managerial aspects of an agency practice, as well as interpreting and communicating property market transactions. What's going on? Now, I don't know if anybody else saw it earlier this year. Shock horror. It was announced in the media, real estate in Victoria has dropped not 1%, but 0.1%. Okay, 0.1%. Now that was supposed to send shockwaves across the community. Don't buy real estate, the market's falling away. 0.1%. What's that? $100 in every $100,000. Wow, that's going to make a difference to your buying ability, isn't it? Okay, so it's how to interpret what you see and what you read. Okay, gets back to a little bit of common sense. And the longer you've been in it and the older you get, you become a little bit more cynical about what you read in the press. And I'll share that with you so that you start to look at things a little differently. By the end of the course, you should have some analytical skills and be able to look at it and inquire on an analytical approach to the conduct of real estate agency and market practice. Communication, which is an enhanced ability to communicate outcomes in written presentations. Now, you don't have to do it, but I'll show you how to do it. Okay, show you how to do it. One of the things that you'll find if you're selling real estate is that you will interview X number of real estate agents. They'll give you this glossy brochure and they might write a few things, but at most agents, all the material is the same. Okay, and much of it is totally irrelevant to what you're trying to achieve, what the information that you want from a real estate agent. Again, I've read the information put out by Consumer Affairs about this new inquiry, and it happens about every 4 years. Whenever there's an election coming up, you can be rest assured within 6 to 9 months prior to the election, there'll be another inquiry into the real estate industry. Good for votes. Now, I've had a quick look at it, and some of the things they're going to inquire into bear no relevance to the real estate industry at all. Nothing. And in fact, I might download some of it and just as we go through this, give you some examples of it. Things that go, my first response was, see a lawyer, see a conveyancer, see an engineer, okay, see a valuer, because it's nothing that a real estate agent should be giving advice on. But it's all been coupled into this inquiry. Problem solving, an increased body of knowledge associated with the resolution of contemporary issues and practices in property in a range of markets and agency contexts. Okay, so all of this by the end of the semester, you should have a bit of knowledge. At least it will give you an indication as to how you approach any future real estate transactions, or you'll look at things and read things about real estate and look at me and go, doesn't make sense. No, it doesn't make sense. There's different portals that I get information from, and I made a comment on one yesterday, and it was something I wrote something. I don't know why you even wrote this article. It's totally irrelevant to the industry in the 21st century. Oh, that's right. Why don't you tell us something we don't know? Okay, why don't you tell us something we don't know? All it was a rehash of something. And I'll think about it later. I'm old, so I tend to forget. Okay, but I'll think about it and I'll come up with it, if not today, at another time, and just give you an example about what the article was about and what the commentary was about. And it was, tell us something we don't know. Okay, as opposed to writing this, wasting your time and everybody else's time. That's a couple of minutes of my life I won't get back. You know, it was that simple. So it's that. 2-hour sessions. Okay, 2-hour sessions and a tutorial. Thereafter, we'll take a break. We'll have a look at a few things. Every so often, I will put something on Canvas. Say, have a look at this. We'll discuss it after the lecture. You know, this coming week, whatever. If you have a topic you would like to discuss or would like discussed or approached, let me know. Happy to do it. Okay, happy to do it. Happy to keep you all interested. Each week we'll do a specific topic, and during the semester we're going to do 2 assignments worth 50% of the total mark for you. Now, with your assignments, if you really spend good time and make a good effort, you should get a good mark. And again, you know, having done a subject with me, it's don't give me 1 page and expect me to give you a 20 out of 20 or a 30 out of 30. You need to show 1, that you understand, and 2, that you've made an effort. Okay? I might not agree with everything that you say, but that becomes my issue. As long as I can see you have an understanding, happy for you to have an opinion. Okay, really happy for you to have an opinion. Then there's an exam at the end of semester as well. see what we're doing today, an introduction. We'll look at real estate structures and legislation. Next week, we'll look at licensing. The week after, we'll look at ethics and real estate in the real estate industry. I'll make sure that there are some readings there for you for that particular lecture. Appraising property, how real estate agents go about and what the legal requirements are of telling you what your property's worth. I think your property's worth $1 million. Oh, no. What did you think? My friend said it was worth $1.3 million. What does your friend do? Now, I say this with the greatest of respect to school teachers. My friend's a school teacher. How many properties do they own? Or they don't, they rent. So you're listening to your friend, are you? Now, I've actually said that to somebody after an auction's been passed in and in the negotiation process. Why do you want that? My friend said, and the friend's been in the room, and I've turned to the friend and said, and what do you do? Sorry, I'm not looking at you for that. What do you do? And again, I'm greatest respect, because without teachers, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. I'm a school teacher. Good for you. I love school teachers. How many properties do you have in your portfolio? Beg your pardon? How many properties do you own? Oh, I don't. Do you own the property you're living in? No, I rent. And I've turned to the owner and said, and you're listening to her or to him with no knowledge. There's the market that want to buy your property. They'll tell you what your property's worth. I'll do a market appraisal of someone's property. I'll have all the information, but at the end of the day, I'll say to a potential vendor, I really don't know what someone's going to pay for it. My job is to market it so that we get the best, and you feel comfortable in saying, I'll take it. Okay, I'll take it. We sold a property last year, purely and simply by the real estate agent that my wife bought the property from saying, I know you're thinking of leaving Melbourne and that you're going to be selling. I've got somebody I think will pay you a really good price for your property. Now, bring them down. They had a look at it, a little bit of negotiation. They made an offer. I looked at my wife, she looked at me, and I said, take it. Are you sure? Take it. Signed it. Huge price. Huge price. My wife has said on the occasion, do you think we could have got more? I say, don't look back, dear. You got it. You've moved on. We're doing what we want to do with the rest of our life. And if anybody says you could have got more, well, guess what? They don't know, and nor do I, and we're not going to ever find out. So move on, okay? See, if people are really good at that, they should be good at picking numbers for Powerball and Tats Lotto and the winner of the Melbourne Cup as well, okay? The market. We look at marketing, and I'll show you I've got some examples of people trying to market either property or themselves that I love. I just love doing this. And when I show them to you during the subjects, there is nothing personal about what I'm going to show you. They're probably simple mistakes, and we're all human and we make them. I make them, except I know how to use them. And marketing is the lifeblood of any business. It really is. The two most important things when it comes to running a business successfully is branding and marketing. All you've got to do is look at McDonald's, the perfect example. Okay, branding and marketing. It's no different in real estate, and I'll show you. Okay, so we'll look at that. We'll go through auctions. Remember, I'm going to get you to do an assignment on that. The auction process. We'll look at someone doing an auction. Might even show you me calling an auction a few years ago, because there are sites that I look at. There are sites you can look at to try to get an idea as to how people operate and do their auctions. Contract and property law, management of an agency, which is tied up with a little bit of just managing any form of business, forecasting what's going to happen. Now you can have, and I'll say it when we do this, you can have all the so-called experts tell you what's going to happen in any field. Having been in real estate for years, I've watched, I've observed. This is what happens. Investors come into the market will rise because you've got investors and home buyers competing against each other. For some reason, and that also the building industry, for some reason, investors seem to know when to pull out. When they start selling off, or when they say, we're not interested in buying at the moment, the market tends to dip away. Now, you only get that by being at the coalface, okay, at the coalface. If you, and I've done this in the past, I was going to do it the other week, I've collected articles where the so-called experts, journalists, have said the market's going to fall away over the next X number of months or the next 12 months. And 12 months later, I've taken cuttings by the same journalist saying the market's booming. Okay, the market's booming. Okay, you can read all the signs. Sometimes you get it right, sometimes you get it wrong. Okay, but again, we'll look at this sort of stuff. Bit of risk management, and week 12, an overview of the semester. Okay, an overview of the semester. What I expect from you in terms of how you approach the exam. That's what we're going to do during the semester. Okay, the two assignments, I've mentioned the auction one. The second one is going to be based around ethics in real estate and underquoting as well. All right, there's a bit happening. So if you actually get onto the Consumer Affairs Victoria website under licensed business of real estate, you'll see there's a whole lot of information about underquoting. The requirements of real estate agents, what they're supposed to do in terms of how they quote real estate. The issue that I see in terms of underquoting is that there are rules and regulations about how real estate agents are about to need to go about their business. What is lacking is the follow-up by the people that police the whole system. And if there were more prosecutions, maybe it wouldn't be such a problem. It's like the small child that goes into a lolly shop and decides to put their hand in a jar and take something or pick something up and walk out on the basis that they won't get caught or they may not get caught. Underquoting can be a bit the same. Real estate agents will do it, those that do, and say, chances of me getting caught, minimal, I'll take the risk. It's not something I do. Okay, so let's have a look at how the real estate agent's structured and the legislation that goes with it without going into it too deeply in terms of the legislation. As we go through the course, I will expand more about the legislation that applies to the particular topic, okay? Setting up an agency, whether it's a real estate agency or any other business, takes an enormous amount of time and money. Worst thing you can do is go into any business undercapitalized. You need working capital, okay, working capital. In real estate, if you're going into it, you're not going to see, or a real estate agent not going to see a return on investment for months and months and months. They open the door, they get a listing, whether it be property management or sales, and unless they rent a property out or unless they sell a property, they earn no income. And if settlement is 60 days or 90 days, after that, then there's no money actually coming into the business for that period of time. And then it becomes a numbers game. The purchase of real estate requires investment in time, money, and a great deal of research. Okay, so whether somebody is opening a business, they need to do their research. And again, as we go through this, I'll tell you the sort of things that my business partner Mark and I did. But also, if you're buying real estate or you're going to be renting out real estate, do your research. Okay, do your research. People spend more time researching the purchase of a motor vehicle than they do research of a property that they will buy and invest a lot of money in. Now, please don't, again, misinterpret this, but I'll put it to you this way, and I've watched it from many years of experience. Kayling, next week or today you go home and you're going to get in your letter, in the letterbox, an invitation to a friend's wedding. You go to your cupboard, you have a look through it, you go, I've got nothing to wear. How long will it take you to find the right outfit for the wedding? Kayling, see, she's not listening. How long do you think it would take? Yeah, to buy a nice dress, matching shoes, maybe a handbag to go to your best friend's wedding. At least a week to consider, and then you're going to start looking in all the shops. That be right? And you'll try them on. Then you're going to match the right shoes and handbag. Then you might go to a makeup artist as well and say, can you put a bit of makeup on? So people spend more time doing that than they do researching to buy a property. Interesting. As a real estate agent, when I say, when did you see the property for the first time? It's Thursday. Today's Saturday and you've bought it and you've just spent $1.6 million. Huh? So you've seen it for about 10 minutes on Thursday and about 15 minutes today. 25 minutes. You've done nothing else other than that. And now I'm going to ask you to sign a contract, which is a legal document. That thick. Okay, that thick. You were selling property off plan? Yeah. Yeah. How thick were the contracts? Is that the right one?
Hello, yeah.
How thick were the contracts?
It's quite thick, but actually, to be honest, I never
About that thick. They're about that thick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just sign here, please. Is it all right? Yes. Yes. The lawyer's done it. Yes. Got to research. You've got to research. As a real estate agent, somebody being a real estate agent that opens a business, they've got to research things like the demographics. Who lives in the area? Who lives in the area? What disposable income do they have? Okay, what disposable income do they have? How many people are going to live in the house or the apartment? How often do properties turn over in the area? Now, I spent a lot of my time selling real estate in the leafy environs of the city of Boroondara, Canterbury, Camberwell, Hawthorn, Kew, Balwyn, North Balwyn. I was very lucky. That's expensive real estate. People don't turn over, they don't buy and sell in a short period of time. My parents bought the family home that I grew up in my teenage years in 1961. You go, that's a long time ago, Phil. We sold it in 2008. Think about it. 47 years. The people that my parents bought the property from, bought the land in 1927. So from 1927 to 2008, the property had 2 owners. Now, as a real estate agent, if that happened with every property, you wouldn't make enough money. My business partner and I opened a business in Sydney Road, Brunswick. We did our research. Property turned over there at least every 7 years. Turnover, it's a numbers game. You have a look at the type of people that live in the areas, they're totally different. Okay, the facilities available, the infrastructure, and the infrastructure. We've moved out to a place near Castlemaine, for those of you who don't know where that is. That's 30 kilometres Melbourne side of Bendigo. Okay, yeah, it has a rail line, V line. Well, it has one little bus service. Doesn't have a McDonald's. Doesn't have a Hungry Jack's. The restaurants and the pubs, their dining rooms don't open Sunday night, Monday night, Tuesday night. So if you don't want to cook those nights, you're in trouble as to where you're going to eat. You can go down to the fish and chip shop, maybe, or the pizza place. Okay? The infrastructure's not there. You go and buy a property in Tarneet, in the new subdivisions or whatever. New house after new house after new house. It doesn't have the infrastructure. Okay, it doesn't have the infrastructure. As an agency, you look at your competition. Who's there? Why do people use that agency? Why won't they? What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? We'll look at it in a moment. And I'll give you some ideas about how Mark and I went through this process. The changes in the marketplace. What's happened since 2020 and 2021 with COVID? Wow, what an impact. What an impact. I take my hat off to those people across the board, not just in real estate, but generally, who have survived. Because unfortunately, a lot of businesses didn't, through no fault of their own. How people adapted, okay? How people adapted in order to keep the doors of their business open. I'm in awe of so many people. And planning, the impact of zoning, planning. And we'll talk about that in a moment as well, okay? So to be successful in any business, you've got to think laterally, outside the square. Do the research. See, population mix. Okay, population mix. City of Boroondara, people move into the city of Boroondara predominantly to educate their children. There are more private schools in the city of Boroondara than anywhere else in this state. They're all there. They're all there. Okay? The major private schools happen to be there. Like my parents, so many people move into that area, access to the finest schools in this state. Well, when the kids leave home, people are rattling around in their big old homes and they're too big, so time to move on. And so that's awesome. The method of sale. In some areas, like the city of Boroondara, the city of Port Phillip, Stonnington, okay, go to auction. If you don't auction your property, what's wrong with it? And again, I'll talk about that when we look at auctions and private sales. In other areas where you've got a home, the home's 5 years old, and guess what? All of them around you in the big subdivision of 500 properties, they're all the same age. And guess what? There's another plan of subdivision being developed a couple of kilometres down the road. People can buy a brand new home for what you expect to get because of the growth in value of yours. So it's these sorts of things. The style of housing. I still look at it and I'm amused by real estate agents that misinterpret the style of a home. This fine Victorian home. No, it's an Edwardian. Okay. By the way, there is no such thing as Art Deco in terms of architecture. There are people that believe so, but architecture is a design style. Its true architectural style is what's known as interwar. Those homes built and designed, the design features between the end of World War I, beginning of World War II. Okay, now having said that, the term Art Deco has crept into the architectural world. So I'll give them a little tick, not a big one. in those terms. Zoning restrictions, what you can and can't do. Okay, what you can and can't do. Now, we live in a very small subdivision of 30 properties where we are. We actually live in a place called Harcourt. Harcourt's known for apples. It's the apple centre of Victoria. Okay. There's plans for another subdivision of about 200 lots. Then that's it. Okay, then that's it, no more. They want all the farms and all the orchards to continue to be exactly that. But the local shire is now talking about a little commercial centre there as well, which we think is okay. But those people that have lived there for years are thinking, oh, the whole area is going to change. Okay, and they're concerned. They're concerned. I get it. I get it. Their little world is changing on them. Now, we went to a meeting some weeks ago held by the local shire, the Shire of Alexandra, to explain to people their vision. There was another guy who I got talking to. He and his wife moved up to that area about 3 years ago. And he and I agreed that the 5 or 6 houses between the BP service station and the post office, if we owned those, we'd be really, really happy. Really happy, because the value of those properties will go up twofold or over 100%, because they're going to be rezoned commercial. And here's what's in Harcourt at the moment. The BP service station, which opens at 5 in the morning, and what's called the general store. The general store is a coffee shop and cafe. It opens at 9:30 and closes at 3. That's it for the commercial area of Harcourt. Now, would I open an agency in Harcourt? Nope. Nope. There's no future there, not at the moment anyway. Okay. In fact, I haven't seen a for sale board on a property in Harcourt since we moved in at the end of July last year. So it's either tightly held or, I don't know, or people are abandoning, and they're not abandoning their properties. But zoning restrictions have a huge impact what you can and can't do. Now, as an agent, one needs to look at that. Shopping precincts. Okay, shopping precincts. The beauty of living, and we come into Melbourne at least once a week. The kilometres on the car just go straight up. Our biggest hardtop shopping centre is High Point Maribyrnong. It's an hour's drive. Oh, well, it's a pretty easy drive. The nearest, we'll call it major town to us, is Castlemaine. There are 2 IGA shopping supermarkets there. They're fighting tooth and nail to keep Woolies out. Okay? And there are people that don't want Woolies. They don't want Woolies, or they don't want Coles. And we're saying, but what about the employment? Nobody's interested. Those are the whole group. They say, no, 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 no. Okay? So right now, we want a good supermarket. We drive 20 minutes into Kangaroo Flat, which is an outer suburb of Bendigo, or we get in the car and we drive half an hour to Wood End, where there's a great Coles. Shopping precincts. You got to be kidding me. In Melbourne, we're used to going to the shops at any time. The big shopping centres, and we were near Chadstone, the big shopping centres were open till 7 o'clock at night or whatever. On a Saturday, after about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you could shoot a gun down the main street of Castlemaine and not hit anybody. All the shops are closed. Go figure. Okay. Now, it's a lifestyle we've chosen. And there are people that love it. We're enjoying it. But that's the reality of it all. There is 1, 2, 3, I think 4 real estate firms in Castlemaine. Okay, Castlemaine. I think they're all making money. I don't know. So schools, public transport, really important based on your demographics. Really important. One of the driving forces that Mark and I got to understand really, really quickly in Brunswick was this. Young couple buy a single fronted home. It's 2 bedrooms. It's perfect. They have no children. Then what they do is they'll have a kid. That's all right. We've got 2 bedrooms. Then they might have another one. And now here's the dilemma. Do we sell or do we extend? Now, by this time, they're thinking about education. And one of them would often say, well, we can send them to the local school, but I went to a particular school out in the eastern suburbs where they grew up. So now they're thinking of moving back into an area where the young couple are more comfortable, which is where they really aspired to live. But it was really good to buy their first home in the inner suburbs in a small single-fronted. Turnover. Now we start getting people buying and selling properties. Okay. Now, in terms of the single-fronted properties in, say, Richmond, become really expensive. They have in Brunswick too now, by the way. It's been gentrified. Or in Hawthorn, you need a lot of money in the first instance. And the impact of competition. No matter what business you might open, you've got to look at who your competition is. Just got to look at who they are, what they do. So we've looked at population mix. Who lives where? When my oldest daughter and her husband, before they got married, they were renting in Fitzroy. She would walk to her work at the Royal College of General Practitioners. Mark was a tradie. Perfect mix. And if you look at the demographics of the city of Yarra, they fitted into the main core group. Okay, they fit into the main core group. And by the way, you can look at the local council websites. A lot of them have information about who lives in the local council. The city of Boroondara, I think, let me have a look. Stay there. It's okay. If I remember, somebody might want to email me, say, Phil, what's the link for the city of Boroondara? And I'll send you a link or the details about where you can get their population mix, age group, level of income, the type of work they do. Okay, the type of work they do. So if you're opening a business, are you now going to provide something that age group, level of income, etc., wants? The value of real estate is determined by the level of income of the people that live there. It's a lot of it to do with it, the schooling for their children, etc. And the ethnicity. There are, I won't call them an enclave, but there are suburbs where people from different ethnic groups congregate. Okay, congregate. And you just drive around Melbourne, you'll see it. And it's because people feel comfortable amongst their own. Aussies are no different. When Aussies pack up and go and live overseas, they will live somewhere where there are other Aussies. Ask young people that have travelled. Go to London. They all hang around certain suburbs. All the Aussies hang around certain suburbs. We use that as their base. Okay, so they tend to do it. The method of sale. What type of sale? How does property get sold in an area? Is it by private sale or is it by auction or whatever? Okay. We were selling my parents' home in 2008, and my advice to my siblings was you auction it. My older brother, who we gave the power of the estate to, because he'd been looking after my mother's financial affairs since my father had passed away some years earlier. No, we're going private sale. Are you an idiot? This is the city of Boroondara. You auction property. After some months, he woke up one day and thought, I need to auction it. I went, oh, I said that months ago. So through the process, there are other areas where you don't auction it. Just go to private sale, put a price on it and see what happens. But again, we'll talk more about it. Different styling, there's a list of them. You can get a booklet, you can get online. Heritage Victoria put out a booklet, what house is this? Or it's what house is that? Now, what house is this? Have a look at it. It will give you all the different major types of housing styles. And I think the person who's got his mugshot on that booklet is Matthew Guy, the leader of the Victorian opposition. That's how old that booklet is, okay? So, but that will give you details of it. Do a SWOT analysis, a SWOT analysis. A SWOT analysis for any business you might do is your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats. Real estate's no different. Now, the office I mentioned earlier that I'm trying to help at the moment, my suggestion to them is that I need to interview all of your staff. I want them to tell me, one, what they want out of what they're doing, but I want them to go away and do a SWOT analysis. What are your strengths? Okay, what are your strengths? So, for example, if I was talking with Helen, I'd say, Helen, what are your strengths? Be honest, tell me. Helen, what are your weaknesses? What do you see as your opportunities, and what's the biggest threat you believe to you? And Helen might say, well, these are my strengths, Phil. I'm personable. I can communicate. I can do this. I can do this. I can do that. Okay, Helen, what are your weaknesses? Well, I don't like doing this and I don't like doing that. That's okay. I don't think any less of you. What I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to spend time helping you overcome those weaknesses and turning them into your strengths. Okay. What are the opportunities? Well, the opportunity is I have an opportunity to work here in a great environment and to recognise properties that might be for sale or rent or whatever. Okay, so if we're in real estate. What's the biggest threat to you, Helen? She might say, oh, other agents. I go, yeah. And she'll go through it, and that's fine. Biggest threat to me is me missing opportunities, me waiting for business to come to me. Okay, me. Nobody else. Okay, nobody else. I remember, I have 3 daughters, by the way. They're pretty old now. But I remember standing in front of a full-length mirror when they started their VCE, put my arm around them. We're now looking at each other in the mirror. And I said, see the person standing next to me? They go, yeah. I said, that's the only person in life that can cheat you. You're doing your VCE if you work really, really hard, no matter what the outcome is, no matter what the result, if you at the end of that period can say, I did my best, I could not have given it any more, all good. If at the end of it all you say, coulda, woulda, shoulda, you've cheated yourself for the rest of your life, because the opportunities that will not be open to you because you coulda, woulda, shoulda may stop you from doing something you really want to do. Good luck. Now, this is how it went. My oldest daughter took it on board. Child genius. Child genius. I love it. I love them all, but child genius. Good for you. My second daughter did this. She went, I don't care. I don't care. She's travelled the world. The only thing that brought her back to Australia was COVID. Okay. She was living somewhere in the jungle in Costa Rica, hugging trees and doing all that sort of stuff, which is really good. Okay. That's what she wants to do. But that brought her back to Australia. My youngest daughter, on the other hand, well, yeah, she's got a double degree in dance and drama, but I don't know what really that's ever going to give her, quite frankly. She's happy. I think she's still living the dream that one day someone will discover her, and then she'll become a world-renowned actress or something. Real estate's the same, or any business is the same. Biggest threat to you and me is you and me. Okay, you and me. Yeah, I'm the first to admit I've had people do the wrong thing by me. I don't blame them, I blame me for allowing them to do it, okay? And me to turn a blind eye to it along the way. It's the way it is. Agents need, in order to actually earn an income, they need what's known as an authority to sell a property or to rent a property, formal document. And again, we'll look at that in the future. Agents don't get paid unless they actually transact. I'm seeing something on Facebook, and I'm about to start making comment. My friend Mark from Barry Plant keeps saying, keep doing it, Phil. Love your comments. Love your comments. And I go, that's just because I'm old and cantankerous and I won't listen to the rubbish anymore. You know, no sale, no charge. That's good. Real estate agents are not allowed to charge if they don't make a sale or they don't rent a property out. Okay, so agents can work really, really hard to sell your property, but if it doesn't happen, they don't get paid. Need an authority. The authority needs to be completed correctly. Some years ago, I got asked by a law firm to have a look at an authority for a client of theirs, a real estate client, who was being sued. And they wanted to know whether or not the authority had been completed correctly. So they employed me and paid me for my expertise. And I had a look at it and I said, yep, watertight. Thank you very much. And I then said, however, please tell your client for me that if ever we're in the same room together, I suggest that they leave. Because if I find out your client's in the room, it will get really ugly. Because I object to somebody ripping off a 93-year-old lady. Because that's what your client's done. So I said, they have to live with it, which they do obviously comfortably. But that's just the way it is. I don't like the way they do business. But yep, the authority is 100%. Okay. For an agent to actually claim an authority, a commission or payment of any kind, there has to be a written authority. It must be completed. And they need to be a licensed estate agent. You can't say right now, and no one can, I will help you buy or sell a property, you pay me. It's illegal if they're not a licensed estate agent. I can still do it. I'm a licensed estate agent. Okay, I don't have to be working for anybody. You want me to help you? If I say I'm going to charge you a fee, I will charge you a fee and I'm entitled to do it. Any business, it's all about location, location, location. When I talk to people about buying property, I say, often you'll hear location, location, location. My comment is it's location, position, and where it is. It's that simple. You sell a business. Have you ever noticed McDonald's where they locate? High profile spots. You need to be seen, okay? Got to be highly visible. Any business, easily accessible, okay? Easily accessible. You know, don't have an office that's upstairs unless you've got a lift, because what you do is you make it very difficult for elderly people or people with a disability to access your office. Very difficult. Comfortable facilities. People need to feel comfortable. Okay, very comfortable about their surrounds and where they are. Passing foot traffic, same. Okay, passing foot traffic. It's got to be well located. Provide adequate parking. Don't want to be driving around and around and around trying to find a spot to park. Okay. My wife went to the dentist yesterday in Melbourne. Wait for it. She parked a car in a 2-hour zone. Dentist running half an hour late. So she's in the dentist's chair with her mouth open. By the time she gets out, she's got a parking ticket after the period that she should have already been out and in the car and on her way home. So she's not happy, but she'll cop it on the chin. So good parking facilities. And staff need to be working in a good working environment with the latest technology. Any business, if you're not up to date with the latest equipment, if you're running a business, you've got a problem, okay? And as an office, it needs to be well lit. Again, Mark and I lit our office up in Sydney Road like a Christmas tree, as the expression is. We actually noticed we'd drive into Sydney Road, Brunswick, in the middle of winter. We'd have a look at all the agents, dark, gone, okay? Gone, they're gone. 6 o'clock, no one's in the office. Even if we weren't there, lit up like a Christmas tree. Lights were still on inside, lights outside. Everybody knew what it was. All on a timer. Our position, pedestrian crossing at our front door and a tram stop. Perfect. Perfect. And so people would congregate while they're waiting to cross the road, or they'd get off the tram and on the tram outside our office. You got to love it. Got to love it. Position, perfect. Establishing an agency. I mentioned it earlier. We need good capital. You know, plenty of capital. The right people. A business plan, how it's going to be complete. One of the things that I've said to this agency is, to the principals, do you have a business plan? Yes, we do. Have you shared it with your team? No. Do they have business plans? No. Well, how are they going to engage in what you're trying to achieve if they don't know what you're trying to achieve? How are they going to, what are they going to do? So right at this moment, you're going that way and maybe they're going that way. They have to embrace it. Okay? It needs to be shared. And good cash flow projections. Where's the money come from? Where's it going to come from? And I say to salespeople, how much money do you want to earn? How are you going to earn it? Think about it. If you're a commissioned salesperson, whether it's real estate or anything else, it's a business. You're going to earn money by way of commissions. How many commissions do you need to earn that's going to give you the lifestyle that you want? How many listings, how many sales? Okay, and again, we'll talk about this as we go through it all. Now, it's just after 4 o'clock. So let's take a short break, because this is going to take a little bit longer because of that introduction at the beginning. Let's take a short break and then come back to this. As I said, we won't be having a tutorial. This will run into that tutorial time. What we'll do next week after the lecture is we will spend some time looking over again this. So let's take, my watch says it's 5 past. Let's take a 10-minute break, have a drink, do whatever you want, come back, and then we will continue on with this. We'll get this finished, okay? Okay, so can you stop that now, Kayleen, for 10 minutes? Pause it.